Over the past several days, we've seen reporting from US media outlets that Israel has been trying to undermine this so called ceasefire deal. Their deal, but it was put forward by Joe Biden.
The Israeli prime minister has spent the last couple of days really walking away from some of the key parts of this deal, indicating that this will not lead to an end of the war, which was very much the way that President Biden tried to frame the deal on Friday. And the Israeli prime minister is doing that for one key reason, and that's because two far-right members of his governing coalition have threatened to topple the government altogether if the Israeli prime minister moves forward with this deal. But at the same time, there are now new concerns, Wolf, inside the Israeli government, according to two sources who I spoke with, concerns that the Israeli prime minister is in fact undermining the very fabric of this deal and the way in which it's being sold to Hamas by the mediators, by focusing so much on the fact that he will not allow this to lead to an end of the war until all the conditions of this war are met. Meaning the destruction of Hamas. There is a key part of this deal that is very much intended to be ambiguous about how exactly you go from a 6-week ceasefire, one that can be extended for weeks or months even, and ultimately leading to a longer term, perhaps even a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Now, today, Barak Ravid of Axios is saying that Israel got a response from Hamas who said they are not going to accept this deal. But we also saw reporting separately that Hamas sent a request for information about what this deal would do to end the war. When you see competing narratives like that, and you see outlets like Axios putting forward the Israeli narrative routinely, what do you, as somebody who operates independently and someone who's critical of prevailing narratives in the media and from government, what do you do to decipher that? And where do you think this deal currently stands?
Well, the Israeli government is not like ours in the sense that it's a parliament, and so to say that the Israeli government supports something, it kind of depends what you mean. Well, what feature of it? I mean, the prime minister doesn't have the kind of power that the president does, and there's factions and there's more than two parties. So this all gets into a complicated domestic question that requires an understanding of Israeli domestic affairs that, frankly, I don't have, and which a lot of the reporters here in the United States reporting things don't have also, which means they're at the mercy of their sources and whatever motives they might have in sharing these things. And unfortunately, I think that's infected a lot of the reporting, particularly with the reporter that you just mentioned, Barak Ravid, because it's this ridiculous reliance on the White House and the White House equivalent in Israel for reporting, and that's never something that's disclosed or really grappled with in any sort of way that the public can understand. So, buyer beware when you're when you're seeing a lot of these stories ricocheting around. Just ask yourself, why somebody would want to disclose these things. I mean, I myself try to make a distinction between what I call authorized leaks that were greenlit and okayed by some power center that has the authority to do so and the authority to access them. And then what I try to do in all my reporting, which is unauthorized leaks, ones which, if the person was caught, they'd get in trouble because these things weren't signed off on. And, to the best of my knowledge, that's been everything that I report. And unfortunately, when you talk about guys like Ravid, it seems like it's the exact opposite, where everything they report is these authorized disclosures. So it's not anonymous sources that's bad necessarily, because you have to do that to protect people if they're speaking to you on an unauthorized basis. It's the authorized kind of like fake leaks that are the problem, I think, and that you should be wary of.
Yeah, it seems like Ravid's whole purpose is just to kind of like be this convenient source of leaked information that shows that Joe Biden and the Biden administration are really doing everything that they can to try and resolve this and really like trying to paint them in as favorable a light as possible with any of these like ongoing stories. I would definitely encourage people to take a look at what Adam Johnson's been reporting on this over the last week or so, another former the guest of the show, who seems to be totally losing his mind with the total bizarre nature of how the media is reporting on this story and insisting that Israel has accepted this deal and Hamas is the belligerent party that is not doing that, which all evidence seem to be showing that it's at least more complicated than that, and it in some lights the exact opposite. I mean, this is the reality though, but it's like, it seems like, while Israel may have agreed to this phase one of this deal, in order to get these hostages back, according to Netanyahu and a lot of higher ups in the Israeli government, there doesn't seem to be a lot of appetite to have any kind of permanent ceasefire. It seems like the phase that they've agreed to is that there will be this protracted humanitarian pause, which is basically what they've been promoting, the Biden administration, for the last 6 months. This protracted humanitarian pause where the hostages can get returned. And then it seems like what Israel wants is just to then continue the war, which is not a deal that you can imagine anyone on the other side ever really wanting to agree to. But the way that this is talked about in our media is really obscures some of these realities. And it's just kind of a really strange situation where they're really trying to promote and sell this version of events that doesn't really have that much actual relation to the reality of it.
Also, I want to point out that Haaretz, one of the flagship news outlets in Israel, is reporting, despite many outlets saying that Hamas rejected the deal, Haaretz is saying that the Hamas response to the deal included a timetable for a ceasefire and the IDF withdrawal from Gaza. So it was basically a counteroffer that media outlets ran with and said they rejected the deal, which that doesn't seem to be what happened. It's just that they have been planting seeds and building a foundation for about a week and a half now that tried to spin this, no matter what the outcome was, as Hamas rejecting it, despite it being very clear that Israel wanted to undercut it from the get-go. They said they're going to basically stay in there. They wanted to eradicate Hamas, and even these terms that, as laid out by Biden, weren't what the Israelis were supporting publicly. I mean, as you point out, Adam has been documenting that really well. So this isn't even just them rejecting it. It's just, hey, we've got a couple questions, we've got a couple points. Let's figure this out. Oh, they rejected the deal. It's so fucking disingenuous.
Hey everyone, if you enjoy this content, please hit the subscribe button and the bell to ensure you get notified for further Insurgents. What? Sorry?
Oh, I'm just saying you got to do the finger.
Oh yeah, the
Point.
pointing. Yeah. It messed me up. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this content, please do make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when we release more content.
That's good. But what if you started with what's going on, guys?
What's
Back
going
with
on,
a new
guys?
video.
Yeah.